So let me get this straight. You've been playing 500 hockey for the past couple of months.
Yeah.
Your offense is either stellar or completely non-existent, no in between.
Yeah.
Your defense is either smothering or complete Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
And your goaltending is by far the best position on your team.
Yep.
Dang, you must have had a busy deadline fixing that situation.
No, not really.
Really? What'd you do?
Sabotage my goaltender's mental state by trying to trade him to a team that's on his do not trade me here list.
Huh. Well, hope that works out for you.
I feel good about it.
Low quality fans of a high quality Bruins team, we have remained the same.
First of all, thank you for everyone who jumped into the live stream today. We did 6 hours of coverage of the trade deadline to find out that the Bruins weren't going to change at all, which is fine. In some books, that's a win. I said it myself yesterday, early in the morning, actually, at like 12:15 a.m. It's fine as long as the Bruins aren't fence sitters. Either don't do anything or make real changes to bolster the long-term outlook of this team. They sort of did both, but not in a detrimental way. Maybe. 2 new additions to the Boston Bruins. We're going to go through them kind of quickly. We're going to talk about a new signing for the Bruins, which is what it is. We're going to talk about some frustrations as well. The first thing, Patrick Maroon, the infamous Fat Pat comments from Jack Edwards. Yeah, Pat Maroon is now a Boston Bruin. So they're going to have to squash that beef. I wonder if Pat likes beef on his pizza. I do. I like beef on my pizza. All jokes aside, this deal is not as bad as people make it out to be, honestly. My initial reaction was like, what the hell? And for those of you who just hate the player and don't want him to be a Bruin, like, you're so valid for that. That's fine. You can be upset about that. But Patrick Maroon, in his best case scenario, coming off of a back surgery where he's not even available for the next couple of weeks, is a 4th line upgrade over Lauko. In the best case scenario. He's been a complete black hole offensively this year and a kind of a liability defensively as well for the Minnesota Wild, and a lackluster effort for that whole team this year. So who really knows, honestly? They struggled with their goaltending, so some of his numbers are a little skewed, but Pat Maroon has not been anywhere close to what he used to be. It's also an $800,000 contract that expires at the end of this year. It's nothing. We gave up Luke Toporowski, who was not making the next step with the Bruins. I think, if anything, this was like, hey, Topo, we're sending you elsewhere to give you a chance somewhere. And a conditional 6th-round pick that only comes to fruition if Pat Maroon plays a playoff game. That's a nothing deal. I don't want to make it out to be something bigger. The guy's not a game changer, but if he's a slight upgrade on the 4th line, sure, go for it. Whatever. It's just not enough to get worked up about. I think that's pretty simple. The only other trade that we've made today, so we didn't sell off assets. We weren't sellers. We didn't move Ullmark. We'll talk about an Ullmark rumor in just a second. No, what we did is we traded for Andrew Peeke of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Andrew Peeke is a 25-year-old, 6'3", 210-pound right-handed defenseman who makes $2.8 million, just under $2.8 million a year for this year, next year, and the year after. There is a non-zero chance that he's just forward again. And I don't mean the good version of forward that we had a year and a half ago. I mean right now forward. Also, forward's done for the year. He's going on long-term injured reserve. He's looking like he needs multiple surgeries. I think his time as a Bruin is over. Best wishes to him. It sucks to see his season end that way. I know we were all expecting him to get moved to another team. We didn't really want him in this structure anymore, but I'm certainly not happy about it being a physical ailment because this is affecting his career, and that's tough. But he's done for the season. Likely done for the season. Andrew Peeke is 25 years old, 6'3", 210. Intangibles. Young, locked up long-term. Great. That's a long-term solution for your 3rd right D position. Makes maybe just a little bit too much money for that position, but you're totally fine paying that if he's solid in that role. He has been so bad this year that he cannot consistently stay in the lineup for a Columbus Blue Jackets team. The whole analytics don't matter when it's a bad team kind of argument comes to mind, but sometimes bad teams are bad because they have bad players. Do I think Andrew Peeke is a bad player? I don't know. I have not watched enough of him. I know he has some upside. I know he's physical, supposedly. He certainly has the size to be physical. He blocks a lot of shots. There's a lot of time in his zone, though, so, It's not a good look. Offensively, he struggles to get the puck out of their zone. Defensively, he gets lost in coverage consistently. Not good enough at clearing the front of the net. And apparently, according to Columbus fans, he loves to kick the puck into his own net. So, you can make the same argument about Carlo, who just deflections love to go off of him and in. I'm not losing my mind here. My issue with this trade, which the trade was, we get Andrew Peeke, they get Zaboral. Zaboral is never going to play for the Bruins. That's a nothing asset. I don't care. We also paid a third-round pick in 2027, which is forever from now. I get it. Who the fuck were you bidding against? Seriously? A defenseman who can't stay on the ice for one of the worst teams in the league, making almost $3 million a year, and you had to give up a third-round pick to get him? I trust Sweeney at the deadline. I usually really do. This was an asset you gave up for this guy. You just helped them out. The Bruins scouting staff must think there's something much more to this guy. And in our structure, he's going to be way better. And God, do I hope that's true. Because if this just turns into like, hey, Forbort, you're done here, but don't worry, we just grabbed another $3 million in cap space that's going to be just as frustrating as you were this season, I'm going to be a little upset. He deserves the chance to prove me wrong and everybody wrong about that. But no matter what, you overpaid. Who are you bidding against that you had to give up a third for this guy? Look around the league and the deals that were being made. What a ridiculous thing to do. I don't get it. When he's on, he actually moves the puck pretty well and has some decent vision and has the size to push people out of the crease and clear the front of the net. Wins some board battles, again, using his size. I've heard that he's not rough and tough enough at times and ends up losing out on some of those battles. Just doesn't leverage it quite the way he should. There are upside factors to him. So this might work out really well, and he becomes just a great third pairing guy that makes an average amount of money. Totally fine with that. It's just the cost of giving up the third for him, even if the third's forever away from now. Just weird to me. Either way, I'm going to be optimistic about it. I'm going to believe that the Bruins can kind of fix his game. It's frustrating watching Roslovic, even though he's a rental, get sent elsewhere for a lower price. He got sent to the Rangers for a middling pick. I would have preferred that over this, but whatever. Not to sound apathetic about the deadline, but that's what it is. Neither of these moves change the landscape of the team. They don't. This team is still what it is. It still has the same problems it had before the deadline. It still has the same strengths it had before the deadline. Nothing's actually changed here. Maroon's not even available for the next couple of weeks. The biggest effect of the deadline, well, there's two things. The first one, and the biggest impact on the actual team, is supposedly Ullmark had to, and supposedly, this is not confirmed, but Ullmark had to flex his no-trade clause, his modified no-trade clause, to prevent being traded to the LA Kings for Pierre-Luc Dubois, amongst other pieces. Everyone say thank you to Ullmark. Pierre-Luc Dubois makes $8.5 million and has been such a bad fit over there that he's played on their fourth line. Ullmark, I would not believe the people who are pointing out Ullmark looked upset walking away from Warrior. Ullmark was pissed off. Don't buy into that. There's a lot of people pretending to be insiders right now who simply aren't insiders. I'm not an insider. I'm just a collector of information from other areas, and I relay it. I'm not an insider. I also wouldn't believe all the drama around this. This is a grown man that knows the situation. I do believe there's a trade set up for Ullmark. Do I believe that he flexed his no trade clause and nixed it? A little bit. But I could also see it being, oh no, the trade just didn't go because they refused to give up yada yada. That's just as equally possible. Ullmark's not going to hold a grudge. He's not going to flounder the rest of the season. But at least there is a little bit of, oh, Ullmark probably doesn't love that. I get that. Here's the thing. Ullmark was going to be gone this offseason regardless. The more I thought about it, and look, on the podcast a few weeks back, I said, I'm comfortable going into next season with Ullmark and Swayman and paying a $12 million or $13 million for our goaltending for 1 year. I could do that for 1 year. But the more I think about it, why would you do this? Eventually, you have to have your 1A and your backup, your starter and your backup. Eventually, you have to. It's just the way the world works. And whether that's going to be Ullmark or Swayman, the other one gets traded in the offseason. You're not going to wait till the deadline. It's very, very likely that one of these goalies, likely Ullmark, gets traded at the draft. I would expect that. There's an off chance that they try to keep him going through till the deadline just to help the team and then ship him off. I don't know why you would make that kind of change mid-season. I think you'd prefer to do it right away during the draft. Ullmark likely was going to get moved in the offseason if he didn't get moved today. I think he knows that. You certainly weren't going to keep him to the end of his contract and just let him walk. That doesn't make any sense, especially if you're about to commit big money to Swayman. I don't think this is going to torpedo the team this year. I don't think Ullmark's suddenly going to lose his cool, hate the team, blah, blah, blah. Especially if the reports are true that he nixed the trade. He's happy where he is. And he likes these guys. And this team wasn't the one who made the decision. If he wants to say F you to Sweeney, that's fine. But he's a grown man. He's going to do the professional thing. It was just interesting to see that those reports came out. Also, if Sweeney was actually going to take on Pierre-Luc Dubois' contract and ship out a great goaltender for it, insane. But why would I assume that's true? There's just not enough evidence there. All in all, a nothing deadline for the Bruins. That's all it is. And that's perfectly reasonable. DeBrusk is likely to get extended, I would expect. JVR is going to walk for nothing at the end of the season. That's fine. These things are fine. This was kind of expected. They made their stance. They didn't think that this team had the juice to quite go all in on, and they certainly didn't have the assets to do it anyway. They did make a signing today. Joey Abate. I'm going to go with Abate. He has signed for a two-way contract, I believe it's just a 1 year, with a cap hit of $775,000. He's an AHL player. It was an AHL-only contract with the Providence Bruins. He has 10 points in 40 games. He's just a bruising 200-pound winger that, they can call up if they want to now. That's not a lot of news there either. He's not going to be a game changer either. There is one thing I wanted to talk about, though. Vegas. If you've watched this channel for any number of years here, you know that Tomas Hertl is one of my favorite non-Bruins, if not my favorite non-Bruin. And I've talked about the Bruins getting this player for years and how it just makes sense and fixes a problem for us, which is down the middle. The Vegas Golden Knights have traded for Tomas Hertl, sending a prospect that, from what the reports are saying, looks like a bottom six center, and a first-round pick for Tomas Hertl and 2 third-round picks at 17% retained. Greer, the San Jose Sharks GM, now has used up all 3 of his retainment slots, and that's going to stay that way for at least 2 more years. And 2 of them are going to stay that way for like 5 more years. Anyone who, first of all, defended Greer as a GM to me after the Karlsson trade, when I was like, wow, that was completely stupid. This guy sucks at his job. Hey, guess who's got super vindicated? This guy. That's what you got for Hertl? And you retained on it? You got a middling prospect, a first-round pick, and had to give 2/3 back, and you had to retain for 6 more years? Idiot. That's moronic. If you're a Sharks fan, are you not just livid with this? That being said, how in the world? Now maybe Hertl, who had to flex the no move clause, he had to agree to this. Maybe he wouldn't go to the Bruins. There's a real possibility there. If the trade was Beecher and a first, we would make that in a heartbeat. You wouldn't even have to retain. We would figure it the fuck out. Why wouldn't we do that? If it was a first and lease sell for Hertl, I would do that in a heartbeat. There's a chance Hertl wouldn't want to come here. But if I find out we never even asked, which I'll never know, but if that's the truth, I'm gonna sob. I'm gonna sob like a grown man should. What are we doing? What a solution to a real problem we have. A solution for 6 more seasons while Pasternak's in his prime to give him a true top 6 center to work with. And Vegas gets him. Vegas, who will now have a team with a cap hit of well over 20 million above the cap once the playoffs starts. And no, I'm not going to sit here and whine about that. I'm not. Because they're doing what they have to do to win, using a clause that could have been changed and wasn't, purposefully wasn't. They have lucky timing with injuries. We'll call it that. I just don't know why the Bruins wouldn't have made a real push for Hertl sooner. I just don't get it. And especially with Greer being as incompetent at his job as he is. Maybe Hertl wouldn't go here. But that one broke my heart. That breaks my heart. I love that player. I love watching him play. And I refuse to love watching him play for Vegas. And what a crop of shit, man. That sucks. That really sucks. Anyway, all that being said, don't overreact to this deadline. We held on to the prospects we liked. We didn't mortgage the future because you're putting yourself deeper in a hole if you do. Going all in on a team that's been Jekyll and Hyde for the past couple months. This team has the same chance it had before. If you get hot at the right time, you're going to make some noise. If you don't, you're not. That has been the story all year. That's still the story today. I personally think I'll give Sweeney a C on the deadline. Like, well, I'm not impressed by what he did, but I'm just also not devastated. I think this might be the right course for the long-term health of the team. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just not fun is the problem. Go Bees. Go Bees! Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, but it is time to give a shout out to our high-quality inspectors. We've got our top line tier inspectors. We got Brock Nope, Han Slomo, Coach D, the Bugman, the Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Aaron Adams, Just Aaron, Darren Woodbury, Brett Arney, Pinsen, and Nick Citrullo. Thank you guys so much for your support. It is greatly appreciated. And of course, massive props to these absolute stallions, the all-star tier inspectors. We have Bruin Smash, Jason Ozzie, Bruin Connolly, Hyle E. Coyote, Adam Ella, Jonathan Harvey, Joel, Abraxion, Jacob Pratt, Tupton D. Tashi, D.A. Kingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Doots42, and Jeremy. You guys are absolute studs. I can't thank you enough, and go Bees.